When you think about it, any company, no matter how big, is really just a delicate balancing act. On one side, you have all the money it's making, and on the other, you have all the costs of keeping the whole thing running. It's this incredibly fragile ecosystem that has to be perfectly in tune to keep everyone, investors, lenders, employees, happy. So this is the core idea right here. On the left, you've got your impresiones, your investments. That's the stuff that makes money, the factories, the products, the people. On the right, you've got capital, the money from investors and banks that made it all possible. And that capital isn't free, right? It has a cost. As long as the returns on the left are bigger than the cost on the right, hey, you're in business. Everything is in balance. It's a beautiful thing when it works, isn't it? But what happens when that tightrope snaps, when the whole thing starts to tip the wrong way? Well, this is what happens. Suddenly, your activos, your assets, are worth less than your pasivos, your liabilities. The company's engine just can't generate enough power to pay for its own fuel. This is the exact moment a company hits financial distress, and its very survival now hinges on a painful but absolutely necessary process: corporate restructuring. So in this explainer, we're going to walk through that survival guide. We'll start with how that balance breaks, then figure out how to diagnose the problem, talk about rebuilding the business, negotiating the debt, and finally, look at the real keys to making a comeback happen. Okay, first up, let's get right into what it means when that balance really, truly breaks. The official term is financial distress, and it is exactly as bad as it sounds. It means the cash coming in from just running the business is not enough to cover the payments you owe to the people who funded you, your creditors and your shareholders. It's the financial version of trying to drive a car when the gas tank is completely empty. So how does a company even get here? I mean, before you can fix anything, you have to figure out what's broken, right? And getting that diagnosis right and getting it fast is absolutely critical. It usually boils down to two main buckets. On one hand, you've got the external stuff, things totally out of your hands. A massive recession, new government rules that change the game overnight, or the cost of raw materials suddenly skyrocketing. But let's be honest, a lot of the time, the problem is coming from inside the house. We're talking a long history of bad decisions, clunky, inefficient ways of doing things, or maybe the company just took on way too much debt. Okay, so you've got your diagnosis. Now it's time to fight back. And this isn't a single battle. It's really a war you have to fight on two fronts at the exact same time. And here's the strategy. It's a classic two-pronged attack. On the left, you have to increase the value of your assets. That means fixing the actual business. And at the same time, on the right, you have to restructure your liabilities, which is a nice way of saying you need to cut a new deal with everyone you owe money to. Let's dig into that first front, rebuilding the assets. This is all about getting your hands dirty in the nuts and bolts of the business. The goal? Simple to say, but so hard to do. Make the core business profitable again, and do it fast. To pull this off, management has to make some really tough calls in four key areas. Let's break them down. First up, Area A, the physical assets. We're talking factories, offices, equipment. You have to look at everything and ask, do we really need this? Is it making us money? This might mean selling off a plant that's not pulling its weight, or even buying a new one to get more efficient. Next, Area B, products and services. This is where you have to be ruthless. You know those pet projects or old product lines that are losing money? They've got to go. It's all about doubling down on what actually works, or maybe even jumping into a whole new market. Then there's Area C, processes. This is the internal stuff. How does work actually get done? You have to hunt down every bit of waste in your paperwork, your sales process, you name it, and cut it out. Become lean, become efficient. And last, Area D. This is often the hardest part. People. It can mean adjusting headcount, changing compensation. It's about aligning the team with the new, leaner reality of the business. And yeah, these are always the toughest decisions a leader has to make. So let's say you've got a solid plan to fix the business itself. Now it's time to tackle that second front, sitting down with the people you owe money to and, well, resetting their expectations. And the people you're negotiating with are called claim holders. It's a formal-sounding name, but it's pretty simple. It's anyone who gave the company money and now has a legal claim on its profits. Think big banks, individual bondholders, even your own shareholders. This visual really nails the tension in the room during these talks. On one end, you have what you originally promised them. On the other, you have that grim valor de liquidación, the liquidation value. That's what they'd get if you just shut the doors and sold everything for scrap. The deal that saves the company has to be found somewhere in that messy middle ground.
But here's the thing. After all the spreadsheets and the business plans are done, whether this whole thing works or fails, it often comes down to two very human, very intangible factors.
Because when you strip away all the numbers, a real comeback is built on a foundation of confianza, trust, and equidad, a sense of fairness or equity.
First, trust. The lenders, the investors, they have to actually believe that management is telling the truth and will do what they say they're going to do. If that trust isn't there, forget it. No deal. And then there's equity. Everyone at the table has to feel like the pain is being shared fairly. If it seems like one group is getting a sweet deal while another is taking all the hits, the whole negotiation will just blow up. And this is exactly why so many of these turnarounds fail. The mistakes are almost always the same. Management waits too long, hoping for a miracle. They burn through all their cash before they even start. They try these little Band-Aid fixes instead of real surgery. Or they're just completely unrealistic about what's even possible. Which brings us to a final thought. A crisis like this is terrifying for sure. It forces a company to question its own existence. So is it just a threat? Or is it maybe the ultimate unfiltered test of a company's leadership, its strategy, and what it's truly made of?